Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers, everybody. Today is our Top 10 Tuesday, and we've got an amazing list for y'all. And let me tell you something. Thank you guys so much for all the support that you give. Please, right at this moment, don't forget, just hit that like button. It takes a few seconds for you to do that. Flip your phone sideways, do whatever you need to do, and just hit that like button. It helps out the channel tremendously. Not only that, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the videos and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to, I keep saying 20K. I don't know if we'll get there, but we are on our road to 20K, and I want you to be a part of that journey, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button and subscribe right now. Anyways, with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at today's top 10 list. We are doing top 10 worker placement games, and I played a lot of worker placement games. I had a lot on my list that I had to sift through in Pub Meeple. As a matter of fact, if you'd like to see that whole process on how I did this, you can actually check it out now by becoming a member. As low as $1 a month, you can see videos, behind the scenes stuff, and I usually send cool little updates when I'm at Disney or doing something fun, and if I get a new game, I'll usually take a picture of it and post it for my members. So become a member to see all this extra content. But if you guys want to see the process and how I thought about this and my thought process behind the whole thing, video might be a little longer, but it's well worth the watch. But here you're going to get to see the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, the 9 to 5 special top 10 of my worker placement game. So what is a worker placement game? It is a game where you have either one or many workers that you are placing on spots to gain resources to do something with those resources. They could be contract fulfillment. It could be, you know, for area control, and there's a lot of other mechanics that mix in, but the main mechanic of the game is placing workers out. One of the main mechanics, because sometimes it's pretty split evenly down the middle. So these are my top 10, and if you don't feel like any of them belong there, that's fine. Tell me what your list is in the comment section below. Let me know, what are some of your favorite top 10 what are some of your favorite deck build, oh my gosh, what are some of your favorite worker placement games? Put them in the comment section and let's go. All right, my number 10 is a game called Orléans. It also ended up in my top 10 deck builders, and that's because it is a bag building game, but those chips that you grab out of it, you are placing them on spots to gain more chips and more workers to build your bag. But the way you do that is so interesting in this game. I enjoy the worker placement of this and going to the different spots, and there's like a separate map where you can kind of like take over little paths and gain resources and different things like that through that part. But the worker placement in this game is pretty solid, and I like the little puzzle of having a whole bunch of workers that are different colors, and you try to mix and match those colors because certain spots require like a pink and a brown, and then this spot requires like a white and a blue, and I got to make sure that I have a white and a blue worker, but I only have one blue worker, but I need to take that action. It's got a lot of thinkiness to it, which I really enjoy and really love. And the better workers you get, the more chips you add in your bag, the more possibilities that you have when you're choosing your chips. I really enjoyed Orléans, and I love playing it. It's a game I would love to continue to play. My number 9 is Lost Ruins of Arnak, and I've already talked about this in my worker placement game, in my deck building game, and again, it's a deck builder, but at the end of the day, you're deck building to worker place your little workers and your explorers in different areas, not to mention all of the expansions. Lost Ruins of Arnak is such a continuously good game. I haven't played it in a while, but it honestly, I've played a lot of like the worker placements, and nothing can like top the experience that I get from Arnak. So it's like one of those things where like once a game makes it into my like top 10s, it's so hard for those games to kind of make their way out of the top 10. But Arnak is solid. You guys have played it probably. If you haven't, this is definitely one of those games you want to buy. If you're just getting into the hobby and you're looking for like a worker placement game, I'm not saying this is a gateway game. I'm not saying it's easy to play, but this is definitely one of those games that it's like, this is a fun game to start off with, I think, because you can kind of ease your way into the complications of this worker placement genre. A lot of these games are Euros. They're very difficult to play, more complex, but this one's actually not that bad, and I really enjoy it. The next game on my list, my number 8, is actually Stardew Valley, the board game. This is a hard game to get your hands on. I know they did a second print run of them, and they fixed a lot of stuff from the first print run, so like buying the second edition is actually really good because it comes with a whole tray to hold all of the components, and it's really good. But in Stardew Valley, you've got these goals you're trying to achieve, but the way that it works is that you have a pawn, and you're gonna move the pawn to a new spot, and that's connected by a path, and then take the action at that spot. But you can do one of two things. You can take the action in the spot that you're in and then move to another spot and take the action there. Or you could take the same action twice, and you just do this every single day, and you work your way through different days, through different seasons, until you can complete all the goals, possibly. This is a very exceptionally hard game. This is not one that I recommend for new players because it's very difficult. The Stardew Valley, the board game, is so much harder than the actual video game. I'll tell you that right now. It's a complicated, difficult game. But the mechanics behind it are very simple. It's not hard to play. It's hard to like beat. And I think that's the part that always gets to me. But it's really good. I love playing this with my wife, and we love Stardew Valley, the video game. So we obviously are going to love the board game. Love it. Stardew Valley, my number 8. My number 7, Paladins of the West Kingdom. And the thing is that I just got Ezra Nehemiah. Dang. I just got Ezra Nehemiah, and I'm looking forward to playing this because it's, I think, made by the same people that made, I think it's Shem Phillips is the one who did Paladins, possibly. I'm probably wrong about that, but I'm really excited to get my hands on that one. Not get my hands on it, but get it into play. But the worker placement in Paladins is just, I'll tell you what, Paladins is so much fun to play, but it is a nightmare to teach. And like, you've really got to, like, you got to lock in, bro. Like, you've got to lock in when you play this game, because if you don't lock in, you're gonna, like, if you don't lock in during instruction time, you're just going to end up like super confused and not knowing what in the world is going on. So anyway, I love Paladins of the West Kingdom. Worker placement game, just placing, like, you get a handful of like workers at the beginning, depending on what the cards are, which cards you choose, you get workers. And then those workers, you put them on your board to take actions, and you have to spend the workers to place them. It kind of reminds me a little bit like New Orleans, but I just absolutely love the decision space and the different things that you're trying to progress on to gain points. There's like different tracks. Paladins is so good. Still, I think it's probably the best West Kingdom game. I'm totally willing to be wrong on that, but I still need to play all the other ones. So for me, because this is the only one I have played, it's the best. But I don't know, man. I feel like people would agree with me. This game is great. My number 6 is Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium, great game. I talked a lot about it in my deck builders because it was one of my favorite deck builders of all time. And so if you want to watch that, go ahead and watch the video whichever side it's on. But Dune Imperium is fantastic. The worker placement space in this one is really, really good. A lot of different spots that get you a lot of cool resources and different things that you can do on your turn, including getting an extra worker through the Mentat, stuff like that. It's super cool. I like all of the spaces on this, and I like how you use the cards to get there. I think between this and Arnak, it's kind of a toss-up. I feel like there's a lot of people who say, I really like Dune, but Arnak's my favorite, and there's a lot of people who really like Arnak, but Dune is their favorite. I'm one of those guys, but I think they're both almost on equal footing. They came out around the same time, and they've just been tearing it up ever since. So Dune Imperium is fantastic. It's my number 6, and the reason why it's my number 6 is because as far as worker placement goes, right? Like in my deck builders, it was like my number 1 deck builder. I liked it. I love the deck building in that game. But I think as a worker placement, I have others that I think are better. My number 5 is Viticulture Essential Edition with the Tuscany expansion. This is probably one of the best experiences that I've had with a worker placement ever. I really enjoy the decision space in Viticulture. I love the different workers. I love that you have a Grande worker where, you know, it's like, hey, look, this guy took this spot, but I have the Grande worker, so a Grande worker can go on a spot that anybody's at, and I think that that's such a cool mechanic. Plus the process of taking the grapes in and making the wine and aging the wine in your cellar. Like, Viticulture's fantastic. It's such a chill game, but it's like thinky and puzzly, and I love that about it. I think that's what I like about worker placements, is just that all the decision making processes that you have. And I would say if you ever buy Viticulture, buy it with Tuscany, and then just play Tuscany. Like, you don't have to play Viticulture by it, you know, its original form. You can actually play Tuscany, and it doesn't add too much to the game that makes it more complex. It adds like maybe 2 more mechanics, but they're important mechanics that I think make the game a lot better. And Viticulture with Tuscany is like almost a 10 out of 10. I really love Viticulture. It's super good. My number 4, recency bias. It is what it is the White Castle. The White Castle is such an incredible game. I had a blast playing this worker placement game, and it's dice placement, not worker placement, but it does have some workers that you place, but you're taking dice essentially and putting them on spots, and then you can spend like these little tokens to kind of adjust what number the dice is, and then depending what number is on there depends which dice you can place there, and it's got this interesting little mechanic behind that. I can't remember off the top of my head how that all operated, but there's a lot going on in this game. I think the first time I played through it, I was like, wow, this is very complicated, but I loved it, and I had such a blast playing it and placing the worker, the die, and then placing your little workers onto the thing and moving them up the tower, placing them in the war field or in the fields. It's such a good game. I really love White Castle. It's hyped up for a reason. I don't think it's overhyped. I think it's properly hyped, and I think that anybody who hasn't gotten a copy of this game, get one as soon as possible. It's super good. The next one, which barely, like, I had them like neck and neck, but again, recency bias, and just because Jackie Fox might be watching this, and I don't want to get on her bad side, but Rock Hard 1977. Rock Hard 1977 is so good. This is my number 3, and it's only got one worker, but like the worker spots, it's like, man, there's some worker spots that you can go to at any point. The game is divided into 3 phases, which is like your day phase, your night phase, and your after hours phase. And so you're going to worker place your person once on each phase, but you could take a candy to get an extra action, which, you know, Jackie Fox, you know, she commented on my review of the game, because I think the way we were playing it is that you can take multiple candies, but I think you can only use one per turn. And so those candies will help you to get bonus actions, but if you take too many of them, you might end up in the hospital, and you got to be very, very careful with that. But you could potentially take 2 actions, but if somebody's on an action space, you can't go to that space anymore unless it has like an infinite symbol. But it's really cool because you're trying to increase all your stats, and you're trying to become a rock star. You're trying to increase all your stats to 11, and if you can, you get bonus points. You're trying to meet goals and personal goals. There's a lot going on in the game, but I really love it. And you can call it recency bias. It is what it is. I really like this game because I've played it recently and it's super good. But that's why it's made my top 3. Rock Hard 1977, nice. My number 2 is another game that I played recently at Dice Tower, and I haven't played it since, but I can't get it out of my head because I really love it. And it's a hodgepodge of a lot of mechanics, but the worker placement is very interesting in this game, and that is Evenfall. Now again, I'll go on record saying that I am not the biggest fan of games that have a theme of witchcraft, especially games that are just called witchcraft. I'm like, okay, no, I probably won't play that one. Evenfall, I didn't know that when I went in, but once I went in and I started playing it, I was like, oh, the theme on this is pretty interesting. You got witches and you have a witch coven and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't love the theme, but I'm gonna play this one out because I already started and everybody's talking about it, and I'm gonna play it out because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, honestly, it's just a game. I'm not practicing witchcraft. But the thing that I liked about it is that after I finished playing this game, I was like, I might want to buy this one. This one's really good. The worker placement is so interesting because you have 2 types of workers. You have witches and wizards, and then your witches can go on worker spots, and those worker spots grant different bonuses and different stuff like that. The witches can go anywhere on the board, but whenever you place a witch on a spot, there's 3 different places where they have like worker placement spots on. One by one, at the end of the round, you're gonna go to each of those spots, and you're gonna do a war on who has the most power, kind of like Scythe a little bit, and you can wager like mana to try to like increase your stats in those spots. And man, oh, let me tell you something, that little war, then you get bonus like materials and different things, victory points, and bro, I had such a blast playing this. And then you have your wizards, which your wizards can't go on any of these spaces. They can only go on spaces that are within your inner circle, and your inner circle is usually cards that you have shifted from your outer circle to your inner circle, and then once they get into your inner circle, they have spaces that you can place those guys on. So it's like every turn, you know, like in most worker placement games, you'll like do something to gain an extra worker, and now I have more workers to work with. In this game, you have to shift cards from your outer circle to your inner circle to open up possibilities to gain more workers to place on spots, which all of them are accessible from the beginning of the game. It's just, do you have the spots for them? And then shifting those cards is not that easy. There's so much to this game. It's so complex, but it's so stinking good. I love Evenfall. It's my number 2. And my number 1 is an amazing game called Le Havre. It is an Uwe Rosenberg game. There are a lot of games that should be up here. I can immediately think of A Feast for Odin. There's also Caverna, and I guess Agricola has it too, right? Does Agricola have worker placement? I don't remember, but I think so. Yeah. And there's so many Uwe Rosenberg has made some of the best worker placement games. I think it'd be a boring list if I just had all of those at the top of the list, but they're all really, really good. My favorite happens to be Le Havre. And Le Havre's worker placement is so interesting because it's not like most games. You have like a little disc that you move, but the thing is that you're gonna move it to spaces to use them, but eventually you can buy those like buildings to put them in your own little tableau, and then other people can put their worker on there to take those actions, and then your ship is moving up spaces for you to grab more resources, and you spend those resources to buy things and to take actions. Dude, this game is phenomenal, and the worker placement is so interesting too, because if you own a building in your tableau, when somebody else uses it, you get a benefit from them. You get to take some francs or something like that, and then also you can just kind of like put your worker on there and block up one of their spots, and it's like, I know they need fish, and that's why they bought this, so I'm going to block off their fish, and I'm just going to kind of do my own actions on this side. And it was like, dude, it's pretty interesting, and like the decision space, it could be a bit of a long game, but if I'm having a great time, I don't care how long it is. I really don't. That's why I bought Twilight Imperium, because if that game's as fun as everybody says it is, I'm gonna have a blast with it. It's like, yeah, but it takes like 6 hours. Okay, and playing a board game for 6 hours, that's fantastic. There's some people who, are in the hobby, and they're just like, I can only handle like a 1 hour game or a 30-minute game, and that's fine. There's room for everybody here. But for hardcore gamers that love these games, and they're just like eat, breathe, sleep, drink these things, like Le Havre is one of those games that I could play for like 2-3 hours and I would be just fine. Does it always take that long? No, just depends on player count. If you play with like 5 people, maybe. I think you play with 5. But I love Le Havre. It has been my number one for such a long time, and it fluctuates in and out too, because I think at a certain point it got replaced by something, but then I played it again and I was like, oh, it's so good. I love you. Uwe Rosenberg's amazing, and all of his games have been amazing. Haven't played a TY yet, and I don't remember what it's called. But there's a lot of different ones, but for me, Le Havre is my favorite experience. I would say Caverna would be right after it, then Agricola. I prefer Caverna over Agricola, and I love this game. But that's my top 10 worker placement games. Tell me, what are your favorite worker placement games? Name some in the comments, because if I haven't played them at all, I might have them, just haven't played them yet, which, I'm not even gonna get. Literally everything from here that way is not played, except for I have Slay the Spire up there. I played that already. But yeah, all that side is all unplayed games. So there's probably like a lot of worker placement games in there that I haven't gotten a chance to play yet. So I definitely want to get to them. But let me know, what are your favorite worker placement games? Why do you like them? Let me know in the comments section, and let's talk about it. And that's it, man. Love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, check out our memberships, man. They're super awesome. There's some really cool videos on there. And also, I love you, and I'd love for you to support me. Take care. See you guys later, and I'll see you on the flippity flip. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers. That's a heck of an intro. Anyway, we're going to keep that in because that's actually kind of funny.